Ladies and gentlemen, here's a trivia question for you. What show used the lowest end of Canadian celebrities and the lowest end of Canadian prizes and lasted almost 2 decades on Canadian television? Of course, it's got to be Definition. Now, Definition is a Canadian television game show which aired on CTV from September 9, 74 to March 10, 89, and it was filmed at its flagship studios at CFTO TV at 9 Channel 9 Court in Scarborough, Ontario, which is now, of course, part of Toronto. For most of the run, it was hosted by the great Jim Perry. Now, created by Nick Nicholson and E. Roger Moore, directed by Michael Huey and Elena Jeseko, presented again and piloted by Bob McLean and Jim Perry, narrated by Jim Perry, Dave Duvall, and Nick Hollenrake. Opening theme, of course, is the Soul Bossa Nova, which has been made popular in the Dream Warriors song, and, of course, the Austin Powers theme. It lasted 15 seasons, almost 2,000 episodes in Canada. Executive producer was Jerry Rochon, with producers Bill Burrows, Romy Hewitt, and Rick Watts. And again, Glen-Warren Productions, one of the best production companies in Canadian history. Now, CTV, usually midday was shown, and the prizes on the show, whatever the most expensive toaster was in Canada, that's probably what you won. Which is kind of a joke because Test Pattern, the Canadian low-end TV show and Much Music, kind of parodied this by giving out, a toaster. Now, Nicholson and Murr were the creators of the Newlywed Game, created Definition, resulting in the show being syndicated for some international audience as well. Again, Glen-Warren Productions put it together. Now, Dave Michaels hosted a pilot for Definitions, and Michaels had previously announced the Nicholson-Meyer game show, Matches and Mates with Art James, and later anchored news for KABC, WXIA-TV, and CNN during the first Gulf War. For its first season, the show was hosted by Bob McLean, with Jim Perry as announcer. Beginning the next season and continuing on the season concluded, Perry moved in front of the camera to take over as MC, with veteran Toronto weatherman Dave Duvall filling the vacancy in the announcer's booth. Duvall also served as Perry's stand-in whenever he's absent. Now, Jim Perry was doing Card Sharks as well, Sale of the Century, and the Canadian version of Headline Hunter, so he's on 4 major game shows. So technically, you can see 2 hours of Jim Perry in a given day, depending on the affiliate what they were showing. Now, it was the longest-running daytime game show in Canadian television history, and the third longest-running daytime game show in North American history, behind Concentration and The Price is Right. It made host Perry a household name in Canada and in the States during the 70s and 80s. Only about 850 of his 1950 episodes still exist. However, due to a then common practice known as wiping, all remaining episodes currently stream on the Retro Canadian Game Show streaming services, bonusround.ca. Now, beginning in the 1980s, Definition encouraged viewers to send in their own puzzles via mail, and it was a celebrity and a contestant in a game kind of Hangman, with at least one chosen per episode. A viewer would have his definition acknowledged on the air by Perry if he was chosen. Now, Definition's format was loosely based on the word game Hangman. 2 teams of 2 competed. Originally a contestant and celebrity, and from 86 on, 2 pairs of regular contestants. The teams would take turns guessing letters and a phrase for which Perry offered a pun as a clue. The game, again, is similar to Wheel of Fortune, which debuted around the same time, but then again, much lower prizes. The challengers began the game with one teammate giving away the letter to their opponents that they believed was not in the puzzle. If they were correct, the other teammate took a letter that they believed was in the puzzle. If this guess was also correct, all instances of the letter were revealed and the team could try to solve the puzzle. A team lost control if any of the following occurred. They failed to guess, they took a letter that was not in the puzzle, and they gave away the letter that was in the puzzle. In this case, the opponents could take a free guess before starting their turn. Now, the first team to solve 2 puzzles, changed to 3 in 86, won a prize and advanced to the bonus game. For this round, the champions faced one final definition in which the letters were revealed one by one in alphabetical order. Solving the puzzle awarded $10 for every unrevealed letter, while failing to do so awarded $10 as a consolation prize. If time was called in the middle of a bonus round, the champions were automatically awarded whatever money was still up for grabs at that point. After every 5th consecutive win, the champions earned the right to play for a larger bonus prize, such as a fridge. When civilian celebrity teams played, the civilian member of the champion team switched celebrity partners for the next game. Now, the show was frequently mocked, as for post-Canadian game shows at the time, for the cheapness of its prizes, which was typically courtesy gifts, such as small appliances, including a toaster. Only this annual Tournament of Champions and show typically offer major prizes, such as new cars. A 2008 article in the National Post by Canadian television historian Peter Kenter claimed that most prices were in fact overstocked products from a retail warehouse. According to Kenter, who was a contestant on the show in 87, he did not actually know what his price would be until it was delivered to his home several weeks after taping, as even the producers had no knowledge of what the prizes would be during production, and the on-air prize announcement was usually a later overdub. Oh, God, gotta love it. Not as bad as the Mad Dash, of course. Now, the show's theme song was taken from soul bossa nova, an instrumental jazz piece by Quincy Jones. Later seasons of Definition used a new arrangement of the song, which was not as readily recognizable. Now, the program's use of soul bossa nova led to the Canadian hip-hop band Dream Warriors sampling the song for their 91 hit, By Definition of a Bombastic Jazz Style, big hit in Canada and internationally. And, of course, Mike Myers, who did work on The Littlest Hobo, I think drew a CFDO, using the song as the theme music to the Austin Powers film series. Now, a British version of Definition aired on the ITV network from 78 until about 86, produced by HTV West, and it was originally hosted by Don Moss and then by the late Jeremy Beadle. Theme music was provided by guitarist Wout Steinhaus. British audiences were also able to witness the Jim Perry hosted version, where they aired on UK cable station Living TV, formerly UK Living, in the 1990s. Now, I know there was indication if Definition was shown in the States, maybe some border locations, like, in Maine, Vermont, maybe Washington State. But again, CTV had, nowadays, they're showing Dr. Phil, they're showing soaps, they're showing all kind of different stuff. But at the time, ladies and gentlemen, between 12:30 and 1:30, it was a dead zone for broadcasting. There was 30-minute workout, a few other shows, but Definition filled that void, and it was cheaply produced. It probably cost no more than $400 or $500 an episode, because you would tape 4 or 5 in one setting. Now, there was some talk if that CTV was going to extend the episode, like Super Definition never came about, because at night, of course, you had Headline Hunters. I think it was one night a week. But if you were in Ontario or BC or in the super channels, you would see Jim Perry's other game shows. So like I said, it could be 2 or 2.5 hours of Jim Perry every afternoon. But Headline Hunters, Jim Perry, my God, he was everywhere back in the day. I still question how professional Jim Perry is, because he went from Sale of the Century, where he'd be giving up $5,000 to $10,000 worth of gifts per episode, and in this one he's giving out $20 to $40 toasters. So you can imagine. But like the story is true, like they didn't know what they were getting until it arrived, so it was overdubbed. So you can see the cut too. It was pretty bizarre, and it was very popular on college campuses because it was like a hoot. But not as bad as that show we will never mention again, Just Like Mom. That is the worst game show in Canadian history. Don't even want to talk about it anymore. Fergie Oliver, anyway. How about those Blue Jays? But again, anyway, Definition. People like a word game, and Wheel of Fortune was not as big as Definition for years. And Wheel of Fortune only got big when Definition went off the air. So Canadians were weird. We like our word games, don't you know? Hangman. And we used to play Hangman at school, kind of like, we were that bored. There was no video games back then, no internet. All we had is our own version of Definition. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing with our game show podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And don't forget, requests are always appreciated and always highly considered. Thanks for listening. Bye.